Hello, warriors. Welcome to the U Movement. I am B, and I'm giving you a real-time look at what spiritual awakenings look like. And on today's video, I wanted to talk about pain on a spiritual awakening. From the beginning, if I look back to where I was 5 years ago, my body was riddled in pain. When I went to the doctor with my very long laundry list of complaints, physical aches and pains was one of the problems because mobility was becoming more and more difficult. And even walking up a flight of stairs was very difficult. I would have to either use the handrail to pull myself up, or my ex-husband would get behind me and do a running shove as he'd shove me up the stairs. That was actually helpful, but to be in my mid 40s and have such immobility obviously was an issue. And where a lot of my physical pain resided was wrapping around my hips, kind of like a seatbelt, originating right in the lower three vertebrae, like right along the lower three vertebrae. It wasn't a spinal issue, although I did have a spinal dysfunction because when I was a child, some dance teacher had stepped on my back trying to get me to get my body down while I was in frog pose, which caused an injury into the back. And so your back is supposed to work like, a bicycle, what's the chain, each having its own degree of mobility. And somewhere in my low back, not quite as low as where the pain originates, but just above that, there was like a seized section. So over the years, my flexibility, like my ability to touch my toes or do strange yoga poses, which is why I don't recommend any other yoga other than yin yoga, because I've exacerbated injuries trying to go to yoga classes before. And my opinion is that a lot of yoga instructors don't have the training or the understanding of what it is to be a middle-aged, overweight, injured, trauma-filled human, and therefore, out of their own ignorance, can suggest people do poses that are not beneficial, can cause further injury. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the immobility. So my doctor believed it was fibromyalgia, as did I. All of these aches and pains that I had, I was very sensitive to touch everywhere. But she was like, well, there's no actual test for fibromyalgia, and there's nothing more we can really do about it than take the antidepressants that you're already taking for your depression. So that was the whole discussion in regards to the physical pain that I was in. I wasn't obviously satisfied with that answer. So I started doing my own research, and my research started in the book When the Body Says No, which I recently talked about, a copy of Gabor Mate's When the Body Says No. And then the second book that I read 5 years ago was The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. So between both of those books, I came to a new level of awareness and understanding that what was happening with my body was in response to trauma. And although at that time I still didn't fully grasp, because I wasn't in the middle of my awakening, it was the beginning of my awakening. So I didn't really grasp fully what that meant. But on an intellectual level, let's say, I grasped that the cause of my, especially my low back problems and the pain that shot around the hips into the psoas, down the IT bands, was all related to trauma. And as I've gone along my awakening journey and implemented certain tools and techniques to address those muscle and fascia issues, it has come a new level of conscious awareness of really exactly how that's tied into trauma in ways that I couldn't have foreseen. I had no idea what awaited me down the road. So I first want to talk a little bit how the physical body becomes so the keeper of so much trauma, and its self-doing becomes traumatized and develops dysfunction and immobility, pain, all kinds of things. So when somebody, if you can picture yourself as a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, whatever age, and someone larger than you in stature, in voice and everything, comes at you and starts raging at you, screaming at you, what do? You stand as firm as you possibly can, stabilizing yourself, shooting your feet outwards so that you get a wider stance, clenching all the muscles in your little legs so that you can withstand what's coming at you. That, therefore, as soon as you've gone in this position of stabilizing yourself, so you can picture it as if you were on a subway car and had nothing to hold on to, you're going to make yourself as wide and as steady and as sturdy as possible. So the physiology of your body becomes armored. It all armors itself up. All the muscles get into steady, hold on, you can bear it. So your thigh muscles, all your glutes, your low back moving into your back. You might clench in the shoulder blades to make yourself a little bit smaller. And holding the arms out, but you want to also make sure that it doesn't look like you're doing that. So you need to react without looking like you're reacting, because to look like you're reacting, if you do large emotional responses, that might further enrage the person that you're being raged at, and then lead to physical punishments. So you learn to hold it all in, to steady yourself. I better not make you learn to mask. I better not make my face look like anything. I'm frozen solid in this state, and I better not move because if I do, then I'm going to get in trouble, more trouble. And so that becomes a learned physiological response for stress. And if you hold a muscle in a state of clench for an extended period of time, it becomes your way of being. So you learn an auto response, and then over time, that auto response engages throughout your life every time you're in a situation that is remotely stressful. That armoring up happens. I like to think of it a little bit like an armadillo. You're trying to protect yourself in all ways that you can. And that happens more and more. You can kind of visualize it like your muscles become in this state of almost atrophy, because no blood flow can get into the muscle. The muscle is clenched so tightly all of the time because you're in so much stress that no blood flow can get in. And so you're in this really gnarly situation, and then you go to a massage therapist and you're like, can you help me? And they're like, oh my God, it's going to take me a lot to get into that. And so that's where I was at age 48, is my muscles all along my spine were this gnarly mess. And all around my piriformis, my glutamus maximus, my all the glutes were all in this state, and then down the thighs. So the first thing that I realized I needed to do was get my spine and all my bones back into correct alignment, because as I said, if you're being raged at, you make yourself wider than possible. And that was my way I walked, and the way I stood was always my feet pointing out, which also was part of, I was a dancer, so I was in this position all the time. And when you're in that position all the time, the entire alignment of your legs gets out of alignment, and then puts even more of a squeeze on those muscles, the erector muscles up your spine, because they just don't have the room that is required for them to oxygenate. And it's not like you can say to your muscles, okay, they're all like this, and you're like, okay, relax. They don't know what? They don't know how to relax. So within that muscle, that gnarly muscle, is all of these little mini trigger points that have developed, and they're like Charlie horses. You're in a constant state of Charlie horse that never ever relaxes. So when I started walking in perfect alignment and retraining myself to walk with my feet forward, it began a process of training the muscles to begin to very, very, very slowly move back to where they belong, kind of pulling, like, and you can imagine like pulling on a really tightly knit and then washed in hot water sweater that was just, as I said, gnarly. And so the more research I did in understanding both trauma, armoring, physical pain, was to start doing a lot of stretching through yin yoga, and then trigger point release. And I've done videos on trigger point release. So check out the body playlist for that, because I've done a whole bunch of videos on that. And so I've been working this as well as cupping. Let's throw cupping into the mix. And let's also throw massage into the mix. So to get into these muscles has required me to do like more trigger point therapy than you can possibly imagine. Like I do like sometimes up to 6 hours a day of massaging into some of these trigger points. If I'm working on the computer, I will have a softball underneath one butt cheek, and keep it there for a couple of minutes, then you move it to another couple of minutes. So if you think of a trigger point, and you're just you want one solitary point to be getting compressed so that it then relaxes. It's like you have to go in to go out for it to go out. It takes a very long time. My butt used to be huge, so I would have to 2 minutes here, 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 which adds up over time. So if I'm watching something watching a movie, there's a trigger point ball underneath me somewhere. And I've been doing that for 5 solid years. 5 solid years. And I can touch my toes now. I'm certainly not bendy like a yogini by no means, but I can do a downward dog now without injuring myself. Not that you should be doing downward dogs unless you've been doing 5 years of yin, because that's not a yin position. But if I had attempted downward dog 5 years ago, that would have been a bad decision to make. So recently, I got myself a new torture device, which is this little dude, because I'm tiny now. I lost 130 pounds, and I've been, I've lost a lot of muscle mass. So I had, because one thing that nobody understood, doctors, people that I'd gone to in the past, because even before I was obese, I was heavy. I was always heavy. It didn't make any sense. Like in my 20s, I had a skinny stage, and that was most of my life. I was pretty stocky, and very developed muscles, especially in the thighs and the butts. I used to be made fun of in elementary school and called thunder thighs, and I didn't really like that. But so even when I was skinny back, and I'm only 5'3", so when I was in my 20s, just before I had my son, it was at my skinniest, and I was still 150 pounds. To look at me, you wouldn't have thought that I was 150 pounds. You would have thought that I was like maybe 125. But to look at me, I was like dense, and that's because those muscles were still all armored up. They were armored up. So I've been over 5 years getting in to heal the mobility that I had, and now to get into the areas that I need to reach, it's really hard. Like a ball just doesn't do it. You can't get with a ball if you're very skinny in beside the spine. So I got this cool little device that you can see gets in between the vertebrae. So you can use these 2 points. You can use this point, which is super awesome to get into the psoas beside the hip in the front, or this is another one that you could use that can get in under the bone, kind of. And I'm not going to lie, it's excruciating. But the relief that comes as you break apart the adhesions and bring back to life what is extensively almost dead tissue inside of you, because as I said, if there's no blood flow in the muscle, then the muscle can't function appropriately. And within the fascia, which is the connective tissue on top of the musculature that connects the muscles between the bones and everything else. It connects everything. Your fascia is like a spider web that it covers everything to hold you together as one person. Otherwise, we'd be like, we'd be a blob. And within the fascia, you can get crystallizations formed that, because the fascia is actually in a healthy state supposed to be almost a liquid crystalline, as opposed to like calcified, hard with adhesions. So this gets into places where it is difficult to get into once you get, where I started from was softballs, and then got into smaller lacrosse size balls, and this guy is my new torture device. So last night I was doing a lot of work in the low 3 vertebrae in beside there, and what I have learned on this path is once you get into those areas, the physical pain, and you release it, you release all of those files that are being stored in there. So it's not just a physical sensation that happens, because that's the musculature. If you picture it like this, within that, in the center of it, is all your trauma. In the center of it is all of those experiences and the emotions that you couldn't feel at that stage. So you're being raged at, and you can't express your anger. You're being mocked or made fun of, and you can't express your shame. You're being ridiculed or hurt physically, or you're lonely because you've been punished and sent to your room, and you're scared. You're scared. In here is a lot of fear, terror, nervousness, anxiety, all of those emotions that we deem to be distasteful. We've just armored them all up, and now we're going in with our torture device, and we're loosening things up so that we can finally heal the trauma. And so these things then all start to come out. And all the way along my journey, the more muscle work and the more I've healed into the tissue, the more emotions, memory, trauma releases begin to surface and happen. So last night I was, after this, was thrown into some very powerful purges and emotions that were extremely overwhelming, because we're getting to the core. We're getting to the absolute core, like these muscles are like literally right beside my the vertebrae. So this is like the right into the nervous system there. And the emotions are terrifying. We've kept these emotions guarded our whole lives, not wanting to feel them because they were too intense to feel. And so then, as we've not only locked up our bodies, we've repressed them, we've denied them, we've pushed them down as far as we can do in any way, shape, or form to prevent ourselves from feeling them. Because to feel them feels like I described in some writing, it feels like having a shower in lemon juice with a million tiny paper cuts, or it feels like being dragged behind a horse through the bramble bushes. It feels like torture. It 100% feels like torture, which is why you can understand why addicts are addicts. Because no addiction is somebody's just wandered along having a happy-go-lucky life and everyone's just fine. Oh, I'm going to try this drug. Oh, that drug is so wonderful. I just want to do it again. That's not why people do drugs or smoke or drink or go to the gym excessively or use sex or porn or anything. What happens is somebody is going along all armored up in their own way, going, I this pain, I'm starting to feel shit. I don't want to feel this stuff. This stuff is coming up. I need to find a way to lock that stuff back down as quickly as possible so that I can look like I'm normal. I don't want to look like I'm broken. I need to present to the world like I'm okay. Everything's okay, because the world tells us that you need to pretend that everything's okay. So everything's not okay, is not just you, but this is the mass delusion that we all play in make-believe. All these undesirable emotions need to go away because we need to be happy. We need to be grateful. We need to be appreciative. We need to be positive-minded. We need to be successful. We need to, so there's all these expectations on top. And meanwhile, over time, what happens is the muscles might start to relax in a certain setting, and then something will bubble up and bubble out and be triggered, and you'll be like, oh, no, get back down, go back down, get down, stop that. Oh, I'm feeling a pain, I'm going to take some pills. Oh, I'm feeling an anxiety, I'm going to, smoke some dope. Oh, I'm feeling some social nervousness and not feeling like I fit in. I'm going to drink that down. So I'm going to do whatever it takes so that I can keep myself presenting on the outside one way, when what's on the inside is the complete opposite way. We're going to just be in opposition to our own energetics, and that is exhausting over time. It is physically, emotionally, and spiritually, it's just exhausting. You can get like soul tired. And that's kind of where you get to at the peak of the moment when you have your wake-up call. Is soul is like, I'm tired. I'm tired of this egoic energy that is repressing everything that is me, and everything that is ego is taken over to such an extreme. And it's not just addictions, it's other behaviors as well. It's that quest for perfectionism, or the quest for control, the quest to micromanage the universe, the quest to schedule out everything and know every detail coming up. It's the quest to dominate and have control dynamics within a relationship. It's the quest to basically pretend that everything is hunky-dory, when the reality is that it's not, because every person has trauma. Absolutely every single person. And the more they pretend that I'm just great and everything's just wonderful, and look at me, I'm just manifesting a life and I'm just being perfect. But on the other hand, I completely lack compassion or empathy for other people, because I don't give myself any compassion or empathy either. I'm not going to allow myself to feel these feelings, so I don't want you to feel those feelings either. So those that present really like positive energy all of the time, the reality is they're repressing their stuff so successfully. And when I say so successfully, that's a temporary state, because it's not successful if the entire human population is completely and utterly disconnected from their instinctual and natural state of being, which allows for compassion and understanding of shadow elements in the mix. So on this journey, as I've been questing to release my trauma, I've had a lot of really ridiculous, insensitive statements made by, just think happy thoughts. Just, be positive, and this, that. And I'm like, that's completely incongruent to what a healing path is. That's also completely incongruent to what a spiritual awakening is going to demand of you. It's like your egoic mind wants to just think happy thoughts, and your egoic mind wants to think that you can just magically make it all go away, use this magical thinking. I have a friend that gets very frustrated when she hears the law of attraction, because she's like, you can't just think thin thoughts. And you can't. You cannot just think thin thoughts, no more than somebody who has complex post-traumatic stress disorder can think not fearful thoughts. Telling somebody who has severe trauma, who has PTSD symptoms, to not think fearful thoughts is like telling a human being not to breathe, or telling a human being not to urinate. Don't emote. What? So the point is, you need to go into the body as the starting point to get into the emotions, to feel the emotions, which is going to trigger thinking that is automatic. You can't, you can ignore it. Or you can soothe it, you can reparent it and say, it's okay. I know you're feeling fear right now, and it's okay. You're going to get through this. This too shall pass. This is energy in motion. But intrusive thoughts is part of the mix, because so it's like a multi-stepped approach. First in the body, then in the emotions, then in the mind. The mind wants to try to make sense and stop you from doing what you're doing, because it's had the mission since you were a child to not let you get into this, to protect you at all costs. At all costs, I want to protect you. And so as you start to do this, the mind's going to freak out and say, no, you don't want to go there. This is going to be bad. You're dying. You're going crazy. You're this, you're that. The mind's going to go absolutely nuts on a spiritual awakening, because when you have a body that's filled with a lot of trauma, because it's doing the exact opposite of what its directive was. And that is what ego death is the process of ego's grasp and control over the situation beginning to disintegrate. And as that ego disintegrates, it's not fun. It is not a fun process. And so, we owe a lot of thanks to our egos for keeping us safe for as long as it has, even if that safe was a faux sense of safety, which it was. It wasn't a real, genuine, I feel grounded into the earth, I feel good. If you really genuinely bona fide feel safety, nobody would have any addictions. Nobody would. Everybody would feel safe. So they could feel safe to be their authentic self. They would feel safe to experience emotions naturally and with flow. They would feel safe to have their instinctual body responses without fear of repercussion or fear of consequence. So the fact of the matter is that humans don't feel safe. We're not a system set up to cultivate safety. We're a system to set up for fear. You need to survive somehow. So it's like survival of the fittest is the society energetics that we live in. We don't live in, a culture from days of yore, Atlantean times or something like that, where people lived peacefully and harmonious, freely being themselves, working in harmony. And that, the fact of the matter is, that is our human condition. What we live in right now is not not our natural human condition. It's a contrived human condition, created for domination and control. So how does one feel safe in a system that's a pyramid? Only the people at the top feel safe, except even they don't feel safe because they know they can be toppled from the top. So it's a constant attempt to get to the top, and it's a constant to stay at the top. Where if we were truly a harmonious culture, society, we'd be living in a circle instead of living in a triangle, because the circle has nobody's better than the other. Everybody works for each other. There's community, there's equality, there's equity, there's a common goal of communion. That's where politically speaking, the works of Karl Marx described, the ascension of humanity from a political landscape or a socioeconomic landscape as, here we've been in feudal times, and well, that didn't work for us, and it was war and, so much power, and all the people at the bottom were not doing so well, and so we leveled up, and then we got into this, like, capitalistic system that, well, that's deeply flawed, because it's, and I don't want to get too far into politics, but I've always resonated with Karl Marx's theories of this staircase that we're climbing, and then we move into a more social understanding and into like real communism, not this versions of communism. That's not what he was talking about. He was talking about actual communal living, and not using the word communism incorrectly. And that was just more almost totalitarianism. Again, let's not get into politics. My point being is the human condition. Whether you're viewing the human condition from a socioeconomic standpoint, where you're viewing it from a political standpoint, a sociological standpoint, an anthropological standpoint, a psychological standpoint, any of the oculos, I'm trying to say just the end of the word there, any of the views, is the human condition at present moment in time is not natural. And because of that, as you go through a profound and deep spiritual awakening, and you go through the process of returning yourself to a natural state of being, it's a very difficult process. The war is within. It's within the body to help, and these are your tools. It's about going deeply within in the structures of your own body, to relax and loosen them, to release all the shadow and the emotion and the wounds and the stuff that we don't want to see, and bring it to light, and bring it into a place where we can be fully harmonious and in balance. But this process is not easy. This process is painful. It's physically painful. It's emotionally the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. To sit in these emotions, and listen, I understand, and I've said this time and time again, I understand that trauma is a legacy that is a generational wound. Those that hurt me were traumatized themselves. And those that hurt them were traumatized themselves. And this goes back thousands of years. If you look at the history of humanity and the atrocities that we have been perpetuating as a species onto each other, as well as onto everyone else on the planet and everything else on the planet, those are actions from traumatized people. And as I said, it's we get traumatized, we pretend we're not traumatized, and we pretend that this is normal, and it's okay to be in a survival of the fittest and destroy this certain forest, or destroy this certain community, or destroy this stupid group, destroy this group of people, destroy these relationships. It's going to be me or you. And so, narcissism may be a key phrase that people are using in the here and now in the last 20 years. But that's really what we've been in for thousands of years, is a really narcissistic, nonsensical, imbalanced system of me versus you, and I'm going to be on top, and you're going to be in bottom. And if you don't like it, then at the same time, I'm going to completely gaslight you to say that this is normal. This is normal. It's the way it's always been. It's the way we do things. Well, you should have seen it in my generation. In my generation, it was way worse than your generation. Look at all the things that you have now. So then we completely gaslight and pretend, get back into that, just be grateful for what you have. When I was a kid, I didn't even have shoes. I had to walk in the snow backwards each way to school, these nonsense statements to make you feel guilty and shameful because you're making that, wait, something's wrong, something's amiss. And so as awakenings happens, we can no longer ignore or deny reality. And when we start to see reality and see truth, it's ugly and it's painful. It's very ugly and it's very painful. So it starts from within the body. It moves out into the emotions. It moves out into the mental realm. It moves out into the spiritual realm. It moves out into our 3D realm and our interactions with family and friends. It moves out into how we act in workplaces and behave in economic structures. It moves out into how we set up our political structures and systems. It moves out into how one country works against another country and wars on who's going to be dominant and more powerful. It works out into a global system that is not in congruence with natural human condition. It's a sick society. So when you wake up, you are waking up not only to your own reality within yourself of what's not functioning normally. You see everything else that's not functioning normally, and it's overwhelming and a difficult process. And so the solution is not trying to fix everything outside of you, because nobody's going to listen to you anyways. The only fix you can do is go into the root of the problem. Get into the pain within you. That is your power. And if each individual person on the planet went out and got themselves some trigger point release, and started doing some somatic movement and started healing their bodies, actually healing their bodies, not numbing themselves out on all the ways that we numb ourselves out, actually healing our bodies, getting into proper alignment, doing aligned walking, which, if you even realize, is no different than every culture in the world that has pilgrimage. The walk back to self requires walking. So get out walking in alignment. I have an aligned walking playlist. I have body playlists. Doing trigger point therapy, doing massage therapy, doing hydrotherapy, doing cupping, doing acupuncture as a means. I didn't find acupuncture to be as effective for me as this type of stuff. And getting out of the gym and going outside, walking to get you the sunlight. Because I'm just going to add on here, this is getting to be a long video, but sorry, but when we go to the gym and we keep trying to develop more muscle, we're developing muscle on top of the trauma. So instead of trying to develop more muscle, what you want to do is whatever muscle you currently have is you want to get into it, soften it, loosen it, and really heal it. then go start doing some strength training and things like that. Because when you just develop a whole lot of muscle on top of wounds, what you're doing is you're just armoring up even more, making you even more detached, which is why gym is also an addiction. I'm not saying it's always an addiction. I'm saying that lots of people use gym as a way to like, oh, I'm feeling emotions that I don't want to feel. I won't feel those emotions anymore. I'm not angry. I'm not angry. Look, I took all my anger out, but I didn't actually get in and like do some of the shadow work. So it may be those that go to the gym is you want to go and do some, massage work and some yoga, some stretching to get in, loosen up those muscles that are super tight and boof. Because maybe what really needs to happen is some crying and some releasing. And it won't be easy. So, the big burly people that think that they've got it all together, do some inner child work. Wow. That's real warrior shit. That's real warrior shit. So I'm coming out the end of what feels like another 24 hours in Dark Night of the Soul with multiple purges, soothing and taking care, realizing that the work that I'm doing on me is making a difference. It is. You just need to look at my before and after photos if you haven't seen those. As I said, I've lost 130 pounds. A lot of that is because of how gnarly and heavily these muscles were holding on to things. Because it may not even look like 100, but like so much stuff. I've cried my body weight in tears more times over than I can count in the last 3 years, because you need to feel all of those feelings that you never got a chance to feel. And for all of those out there that are feeling to healing, I am sending you my absolute love and honor and respect. And you guys are doing some serious healing work. Like it just blows my mind that people can go through what I went through the last 24 hours and survive, come out the other end. Like, I have compassion because I've been there. I know. And I wish more people will go there, and then they'll know too. And maybe this world will become a lot more compassionate and understanding. That is my prayer. Beyond any other, that is my prayer, that the more people that wake up and do their own healing work, their own journey work, it makes the world a more loving and kind place for others. I can hold space for others because I can hold space for myself now. I couldn't do that before. I couldn't, not to the same degree, not to the same depth of understanding before. Like, I always had empathy, but now it's like, I don't know. It's crazy. The love I have for everyone on this planet, everyone. I just want everyone to find their way out of suffering, because it only through finding their way out of suffering will they stop perpetuating suffering. That's the only way. Is to learn to love the fuck out of ourselves. And so for those that, I guess as a final message, for those that have found themselves perpetuating suffering in the world, you have a lot of work to do to heal it, but you can heal it. You can get in there and own the stuff that you've done and do your own healing work and sit in your shadows and then go in the world and atone in one way, shape, or form. Find ways to course correct and create positive karma. Because as you show yourself compassion for the trauma that you experienced and learn to forgive yourself for the trauma you caused by going out in the world and doing positive action, positive thought, positive care, and kindnesses to other human beings that have suffered. Those that were in gangs, helping gang members escape, those that used to be alcoholics, and helping other young people stay away from alcohol, or those that can have building skills, go and build homes for the homeless. Just do something to counter the karma. If you've caused pain and suffering to people, go find ways to cause kindness and care to people. Balance the scales. Balance the scales. I'm sending you all my absolute love. If anybody would like to book with me to discuss some of the ways maybe they can balance the scales, or some of the issues that are coming up as they're dealing with their own healing work, please feel free to reach out to me. The way to do that is send me off an email at justbebeing@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook at Be Freedom and send me a message, and we can set up a one-on-one Zoom call to discuss some of your processing, because it's time. It's time. It's time. Peace out.